So if you had a chance to watch it, let me know your thoughts. Do you agree that it was probably too meta for some? Do you think the commentary turned people off? What were your thoughts in relation to, what hit and what missed on The Matrix? That's the big question here. What's good, everybody? Welcome back to Hope Views, and today we talk about The Matrix Resurrections. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet. I would appreciate any subscriptions, any likes, or any comments that you leave on the video. And here we're gonna just talk about the spoilers of the movie, break down how I came up with my score, and just talk about the movie in general. Now, talking about the movie overall, my score was a 7 out of 10, and I must say that's probably about right. Maybe a little generous in some areas, but 7 out of 10 is good. And what's crazy about the movie is that as much as I liked it, there were certain elements that I really didn't care for. And that's the kind of stuff I want to get into when we talk about the categories and how you break things down. So with the story, I think my biggest problem with the movie was with the story. I give the story a 5 out of 10, and I give it that because I feel like it was too meta unnecessarily. That's a word that people are throwing around when talking about Scream, and I think it's appropriate when talking about Scream because it's a slasher that knows it's a slasher. But it's been like that since its inception. When you look at The Matrix was like real heady and full of big ideas and stuff like that. But it wasn't like that from the jump. It was just like that in this film. It felt like there was a lot of commentary in the dialogue of this movie that was like attributed to like political statements, statements about race, statements about sexual orientation, statements about political stuff like left and right politics. It's like, and maybe I was overreading into it, but it seemed like it came across that way. Now, I do feel like it did a good job at doing all those things. And I do feel like the meta, the whole idea of taking the Matrix original, trilogy and then making it into a video game, and this one, and it's the Matrix that's doing this to Neo, all that stuff was well done. It explained itself very well. It just, I don't know if I cared for it. Saying all that, it leads me into the pace. I give the pace a 7 out of 10, and the reason why is because it's in relation to this. I feel like that super meta talk and making references to what felt like real life stuff outside of the movie, I feel like that stuff slowed the movie down and it took longer for me to get interested. So the first 20-30 minutes was like, yeah, I guess y'all trying to explain why we here. The reason that you're giving me for being here, I don't really care for it. So that's why I came down a little bit hard on the story as well as the pace. I just feel like, it took a little while to get going. Now, granted, by the time you get to the 1 hour mark, it's like, yo, I'm all the way locked in. The action up until that point was kind of sprinkled, but still very well executed, which kind of leads to the visuals. And to me, that's the category that carries the movie. And it's what, to me, also carried Matrix 2 and The Matrix 3 is the fight choreography. It's the graphics. Is the powers that Neo has that he doesn't know he has. All that stuff was well done. All that stuff was cool. I won't say that any performance really blew me out the water. Carrie-Anne Moss didn't amaze. She did her thing. Keanu Reeves, he did his thing. Yahya as Morpheus, he really embodied Morpheus, like the spirit of him. He carried that Lawrence Fishburne like mannerisms kind of into this and the look, and it really worked for me when I really thought it would not. Just watching a few trailers, I didn't think that this would really work. The performances were fine, and the action is what really carried the film. By the time I got to like the last 20 minutes where you get in the shootout in the street, the agents are going crazy in the coffee shop, like at that point it's like, yo, this is what I came here for. Like crazy insane action, jumping off the walls, kung fu, as Keanu refers to it. Like, hey, this is all what we came to see this movie for. I really enjoyed that last half of the film, and I think that if we'd have got maybe more of that, or just a less complicated way to get to that point, because even the underlying story, visuals aside, going back to story, even the underlying stuff of this whole movie really exists because the robots revived Neo and Trinity and like used their love for each other to like fuel a new Matrix. Like, hey, that's that's pretty cool. They had inexplicable stuff happening with them throughout the entire franchise. So to see them, revisit that whole romance and have that romance be the reason why we are here watching a fourth film, like, you could have kind of led with that. You didn't have to give me the meta video game stuff, but it's not bad. I don't look at it like it was a horrible thing. Moving into the entertainment value of the whole film, I feel like that's also a 7 out of 10. And the reason why is because, I feel like you could kind of, not really cut, but a good portion of the movie is kind of like exposition and explaining and revisiting. And it's like, I don't know if I cared for all that. There were some things that kind of made me want more in the film. Like I thought about, Jada Pinkett Smith's appearance. Like, her makeup, very well done. She really looked ancient. But the thing about it is that I feel like there's more to be explained when it comes to like the relationship between the people in IO and this current generation of Sentinels and robots and stuff. Like, is there really peace and y'all people just like picking at an old wound, or what's going on? I wish that would kind of be fleshed out a little bit more, and less of the video game meta stuff and more of the, hey, this is the world that you left us with. It was peace, and the Matrix kind of carried on with the people who wanted to stay inside the program, and they built things back up and blah blah blah. Like, I would kind of I want to know that. I'm more interested in that, and more interested in the fights, and less interested in all the commentary that I feel like we got throughout the film. Bringing it on home with rewatchability, I give that a 6. And the reason why I give that a 6 is because with rewatchability, first I think about recommending it. So yeah, I would recommend The Matrix to most people. It'll be a cool little watch. If you're familiar with the original Matrix franchise, there's nothing that's kind of ruined by this film. I like the way that, the sacrifice that they originally gave and all the stuff they did in the first 3 films, like that still means something, that still holds weight. But this one to me is not a horrible entry to the franchise. It does kind of feel like we didn't need it, but it does not feel like a cash grab. That's very important. The action that occurs, the story that plays out about the romance of them two and the importance of it, the machine saying, hey, we'll put them close together but not too close, because problems occur when they actually connect romantically. It's like, hey, that's cool enough, that's worth a watch. But a rewatch, that is kind of tricky. Like, I think I would watch it again to see if I can catch things. And also, the last half of the movie, the action that's in it is like, hey, this is a good enough ride to go on a second time. But I don't know if this is for everybody. And that's kind of the thought that I was left with after this. I think that there's people that's going to hear the commentary and go like, oh my God, y'all, you're making political statements and you're making social commentaries in a movie, and it's like super blunt, super on the nose. I think that'll turn a lot of people off. I think the meta-ness of making the original trilogy a game in this one, and the idea of constantly referring to it and the cutting back and forth, that'll help a general audience member who doesn't remember every movie. But at the same time, I think it'll take some people out of it and make them like not connect with the movie as the movie intended to connect with audiences. I don't know. I kind of gotta say, it's kind of rewatchable, like a 6 out of 10. Like, that's kind of rewatchable because there's a lot to me to be desired when I think about the film. So, not the best movie, not the worst movie, a decent time. It's one of the ones I really wanted to catch right on the day it came out, or maybe see in theaters, but life was happening for me on this end. We were setting up the new studio, we was getting into a new house, there was a lot of stuff going on, so I was like, I'll try to catch The Matrix, and lo and behold, the last day it's available before it goes on like a 45-day hiatus from HBO Max, we get me finishing up and dropping this review. So if you had a chance to watch it, let me know your thoughts. Do you agree that it was probably too meta for some? Do you think the commentary turned people off? What were your thoughts in relation to what hit and what missed on the Matrix? That's the big question here. I would love it if you would share some comments. Enjoy yourself, guard your heart, and please come back and check out more videos.